God, I always hate doing that because in the editing process, having to like lower the audio levels is always annoying. So looking at my video analytics for the video about my Odin device, I think I'm gonna have to start doing more videos with a clickbaity thumbnail and a clickbait title. The weird thing about a lot of these videos is that I sometimes just start filming without an actual goal, and then I figure out what I want to talk about through the video. So what we're talking about today is the fact that Nintendo needs to start stepping it up with their current hardware. Nintendo has famously been a big proponent of any type of emulation of any of their games, any type of fan projects or anything like that. They've notoriously shut them down because Nintendo doesn't like their fans. I'm kidding, but I mean, kind of hard to not think that when you see everything that they do. The Nintendo Switch is 4 years old at this point, going on its 5th year. Obviously, they should have made some changes to it now. They should have made this thing more powerful because there are devices coming out now that are portable emulators. They cost just as much as the Switch, and they can play some Switch games. This is on the Odin Lite, which is like $100 cheaper, actually. He shows Hollow Knight and Pokemon playing on the device that has the same configuration as the Odin Lite. I mean, it's playable, and that's kind of concerning for Nintendo and anybody else that I guess agrees with them in terms of emulation. Like, Nintendo needs to start upping their hardware if they want people to stop emulating their games. Because at this point, if low-powered emulation devices can emulate your games, you're not doing very well in terms of specs. They have been very clear on interviews and stuff like that they do not like emulation. They would prefer someone just try and get it legitimately or just not get it at all if it's not available. And so this must be concerning to them. I'm seeing like the cease and desist or whatever they send to people, the legal threats they send to people who like make fan projects. It's like kind of concerning. I mean, to say the least. It kind of discourages any fans of Nintendo who want to make fan projects or anything. But they need to like make the Switch more powerful. That OLED model did nothing but give us a better screen, which is not something people wanted. The Switch is dated. Like, you can't argue that. In 2017, I'm pretty sure in 2017 it even had like an older processor. But now with the Series X and the PlayStation 5 out, these games are not gonna... This Switch hardware is not gonna fly. Nintendo's charging $350 for that Switch OLED. $350 for a better screen compared to like $300 or like less than that if they give it a price cut. I don't know what Nintendo's doing, but they obviously aren't thinking. So yeah, I pre-ordered that Odin handheld device, and I am excited to see how it runs. And I think that in many ways, this will probably be, to people who have this and a Switch like me, this will probably be something I take out more than the Switch. Like, I play on more than the Switch, especially with that dock that I also pre-ordered. That thing is going to become like my new favorite console because I can play Wii games, GameCube games, Nintendo 64 games, all different types of ROMs and emulators. And it's like Nintendo's not giving us their back catalog. They barely gave us NES and SNES games. And there's rumors that they're going to do Game Boy games, but I'm not believing any of that till I see it. The RGB 10 Max, the thing I bought, this thing is great. I don't take it out anymore mainly because I never went on public transit during the summer. And the car trips that I did go on, I just brought my 3DS. But maybe I'll start taking it more when I go on the bus. You're either gonna make the Switch more powerful to where these devices can't play these games, make games that take advantage of this power, or stop hating on emulators. Like Xbox and PlayStation, I'm pretty sure there was only like recently where a PlayStation... Let me check. I'm pretty sure it was only recently where a PlayStation 4 emulator was working. There was only recently a PS4 emulator for PC. But there's been Nintendo 64 emulators for different types for PCs and stuff. Nintendo isn't... They're hard on fan games, and they're hard on emulation sites, but these emulators are really easy to make. It seems they're very easy to make compared to other consoles, because we, like, just as I showed, there just now is PS4 emulation here, and there isn't even like an Xbox One emulator, I don't think. So for those consoles, if you want to play it, you most likely had to go out and buy the hardware. Switch, I mean, you shouldn't pirate games you don't have. This all comes down to Nintendo being too hard on their consumer. They know the consumer will purchase whatever they make. And I think they try to like abuse that at some point. Like, Nintendo has done a lot right in this generation, but they've also done a lot wrong. Obviously, with past content on the Wii and Wii U, we got Nintendo 64 games. The Wii U, we got DS games. The Switch has NES and SNES games. 4 years after it's come out. And it's not even just that. Like, Nintendo's changing leadership after Satoru Iwata passed away. That probably has something to do with it, but Nintendo probably had a plan all along. They supported the Wii U too much and the Switch not enough. And it's just so sad to see so many Wii U games get ported to the Switch, because it's like, those games were great on the Wii U. It's just that it just seemed like such a gimmick that no one wanted to get one. They don't lean hard enough on their old games, because if they wanted to, they could make so much more money off of their online service just by giving us like Game Boy games or GameCube and Nintendo 64 games. Maybe even Virtual Boy games. Like, GameCube and Nintendo 64 games may be too big of a file size to just have, like, in a collection, like the SNES and NES. But then just sell them in collections on the eShop. You make so much more money. That 8 gigabytes of RAM, that's double the amount in the Switch. That's so crazy that Nintendo is just letting all this stuff happen, but cracking down on all these fans who are just wanting to make games because they like their characters so much. I guess if I had to wrap it up, I guess I'd say, once I get this Odin device, if there's no like Switch Pro or like a successor within the next year, I might just start using the Odin as my full-time gaming console. Like, I mean, obviously these are good for like commutes and stuff. If that can play up to Wii games, what's the point of the Switch? I mean, if that can play up to Switch games, I mean, there's no Wii U emulator for Android, so can't really play up to Switch. Play up to Wii and Switch. Wii U emulation for Android just sounds like a headache. But, I mean, if I put Windows on it, we could see how well that works. I don't know, that's kind of whack. But maybe I'll do that. I think I'm going to do that. I kind of want to see how well it runs. Nintendo needs to step up their game in terms of hardware, software, if they want me to keep using the Switch. If they want their consumers to keep using their Switches and not, like, just abandon them, because there's better options out there for Android gaming, for emulation. So, yeah, that's really it. I hope the next Switch or whatever it is going to be better. But for right now, Odin's looking pretty good. But that's it. I have to stop now or I'll keep rambling. Bye-bye. See you next week. Hopefully I didn't upload last week because I'm annoying. Bye-bye.